Welcome to 30 Minutes of Faith. We're happy today to have David Taft with us, who is going to tell us more about Youth Connections Unlimited.
Right.
That is fairly new to me. He and I have touched base on several other issues and emails and all of the social media sort of stuff, so we're going to learn more. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, first of all, your accent sounds Australian.
No, sorry, no. New Zealand.
New Zealand. You're a Kiwi.
That's right. Yeah, you're good.
And where were you born and raised?
Auckland.
Auckland.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Say that one more time.
Auckland.
Yeah, sounds better when you say it.
All right.
Graduate from high school there, grow up?
That's right, yes, yeah. Then went to college in Sydney, Australia. So, yeah.
Were you raised in a religious home?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
Right.
Are they still living? And
oh yeah, my brothers and sisters are still living. One's over here, over on the East Coast. One's in Australia, and 3 are in New Zealand.
Been in New Zealand. That's a beautiful country.
Thank you.
Beautiful country.
Thank you.
Spent a day at Rotorua.
Right, right.
For those who wouldn't know, that was sort of billed as the Yellowstone.
That's right.
New Zealand.
You got used to the smell by the end of the day?
I got used, and one of the things that fascinated me is how close the houses were just built to
That's right.
steamer or whatever they were called.
That's correct.
And the black swans. Right. They were all over. How long have you been in the United States?
Just coming up 25 years.
And what brought you here?
A 747? No, I just say that. Sorry, can't resist that one.
Sure.
There were several things, John. One of the biggest ones was the economy at the time was going through the pits. It was way worse than it is here. 20% inflation,
wow.
20% unemployment. People were leaving the country in their droves. And I can remember I had an apartment that I was paying mortgage on. The first mortgage was 19%, the second was 29%. And the outlook was pretty bleak, and so I decided to try somewhere else. I'd been over here several times, and had never thought of moving. But then I decided we'd try and come over here and try it for 2 years, and maybe the economy would improve. But I'd been here about a month, and my kids said if I'm ever going back, I'm going by myself. So that made just fell in love with the country and decided to stay.
And did you come to Sacramento?
No, I came to Modesto, and I was there 6 years, and then for the rest of the time I've been here in Sacramento.
Now tell us about Youth Connections. I would like to learn more about that.
Youth Connections is a non-profit organization, and we work here in Sacramento with incarcerated youth and with the probation department in an endeavor to cut down on the recidivism rate. The recidivism rate, that means a kid that leaves juvenile hall and then reoffends and comes back in. The recidivism rate is about 73%, and so we provide volunteer mentors for them that go into juvenile hall while they're there, make a friend with them, and then continue to work with them when they get out on the outside. It's very much like a Big Brother program, but it's just for kids that are incarcerated. So the recidivism rate for the county is 73%. For the kids in our program, it's less than 10%.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it really is.
Is this your brainchild?
This and part of, the original person that suggested the idea was the now retired chief of probation, Vern Spears. And so it was his idea, and at that time, our organization, we had a contract with probation for 10 years, and he asked me if I could start it, and he's now retired. But our contract was cut 2 years ago because of the budget cut, and I asked them if we could carry on, and they agreed to, and we just don't have any funding from them though.
Does the future see funding?
Hopefully. We've got a lot of irons in the fire right now. It's tough to say. We virtually have no income right now. It's all volunteers, and I'm volunteering, and but we've got a lot of irons in the fire, and just have to see what happens.
What's the main reason the kids are incarcerated?
The home situation, lack of a father, without a doubt, or positive role model. Probably over 95% of them don't have a father or an effective father in the home. 70% of them don't even know who their father is. And it's a tragedy because most of them are good kids. You know, I hear all the time people, they don't want to have anything to do with these delinquents, just lock them up. Well, maybe if you and I were raised in the same situation they're raised in, we'd be in there as well. And they have no idea of what life can be like. They know nothing but guns and drugs, and they just need someone to care for them.
What's happening to the 90% that you're seeing some success with?
They're moving on with their lives and staying out of trouble. The main thing for us is we don't want them getting back in the system, but they're moving on and getting jobs, and some going to college and graduating from high school and doing really well.
Is there religion or spirituality involved in your program?
No. It's a community-based organization. So.
Do you find the youth wanting to find God along the way as they're progressing?
So I leave that up to the individuals, and we do have Christians. I mean, I'm a committed Christian myself, and if I was talking to a kid one-on-one that I was mentoring, and it was appropriate, I'd bring it up. But yeah, they are interested, yeah. And we have, the Christian part of it doesn't come into it because we're looking for government funding,
Sure.
so we can't, push that or don't push that at all.
I was at the county jail 6 weeks ago with a young man, and he wanted a picture of Jesus and a Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he wanted.
Yep.
Of course, they're limited to what they can have,
Right,
but
right.
That's what he wanted.
Right.
When I went back 3 or 4 days later to deliver those, he had actually been asking his mother about a picture of Jesus, and
Right.
she'd mailed him one that was a 4x6 or something,
Right.
and he was very pleased. On the way out, I stopped at the request of the people there and visited with a young Jewish boy,
Yeah.
and he wanted more religious materials
Right.
that he could have, and
Right.
I talked to one of the rabbis shortly thereafter, and that was
Good.
resolved.
Yes. And the thing is, John, that often when people are in that situation, whether they be adults or kids, it is a wake-up call, and they are thinking about things like this. And it's great that there are avenues they can get it through the chaplaincy program, and I'm a good friend of the chaplain. But that's not meeting the real need, because they have a great intention, they want to go in the right direction, but
Sure.
they have no support. There is no support when they walk out that door. None. Zero. Zilch. So they're straight back to the old life again. And many of the kids have been so many times, they can't remember what the original crime was. It's just, it's sad.
Is this mostly young men?
Yes, yeah, right. We have young men and young ladies, and but we desperately need more mentors. We've got kids asking for mentors, you know what I mean? Why has he got a mentor and I haven't, they're asking all the time. And situations where kids, their families all into drugs, and they want to get out of it, they don't want anything else to do with it, but they know that they can't, they're locked in, or the family's into gangs, they want to get out of it, but they got no one to help them. It's really, really sad.
How can people who will be watching this become a mentor?
If they can call me, 916-835-1147, or go to our website, and you can find out all about our program on our website and apply online, which is SAC for Sacramento, SACYCU for YouthConnectionsUnlimited.com.
Okay, and we'll post that on the screen as part of the show going on.
Yes.
Who are the typical mentors?
Funnily enough, the biggest percentage of our mentors here are criminal justice students from the colleges and universities.
Male and female?
Yes. They do an excellent job. So it's the program is a two-edged sword. Not only are we helping these kids, but we're helping these university students be better equipped for their career or whatever it is in criminal justice they're going into. So, they volunteer, and they have it on their resume, and we have internships, and that really helps them getting a job and practical experience,
And what would a mentor be doing?
The first part is just to go into juvenile hall and make a friend with a kid. We don't assign a mentor to any kid. We let that happen naturally. And then it's basically they just need someone to get with them once a week or every 2 weeks, be a friend, and encourage them to keep going in the right direction, and being a role model. They don't have anyone to care for them at all, none. It's just, and when you think of the guys, the only adult male they know is either an authority figure, probation officer, police officer, school teacher, or a mum's revolving boyfriend, or thugs on the street. And so there's no positive male role model at all. They don't know. They don't know a guy should be like.
How long are they usually incarcerated?
Not very long. The 21 days is the average. So they're not there very long. Now, I'm not talking about, we don't work with the long-term murderers.
Sure.
And we don't work with them. We only work with kids that are coming back into society. So there's a fast turnover, and yeah, 21 days is the average.
And is this usually high school aged kids?
Yes, average age is 17, right.
Did you plan to do this earlier in your life?
No, I didn't, but something I'd always wanted to do. And I went through some real big changes in my life about 12 years ago and quit the job and the career I was in, and got this almost by accident. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was a major change, and I was actually going to start a scuba diving business, taking people out to Australia's Great Barrier Reef. And I thought, well, while I get that set up, I need a job. And I got it, and it was very low pay, but I thought, well, at least it'll pay the rent and give me some food while I figure out what I'm doing. And then I'd only been in it a few weeks, and I realized, hey, this is what I want to do all my life. This is unbelievable. And it was just,
that's cool.
It was unbelievable. And I decided to take it and go with it. And then that was for another agency. I just got a job as another agency. And then that agency folded after 5 years, and so I started my own and just kept the same thing going.
Do you have children?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do you apply some of the fatherhood skills to the work you're doing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah. They're grown now and gone.
Sure.
Yes, right.
Grandchildren?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 boys. So,
Great.
Yeah.
What do you think the future holds for, I'm just going to say, juvenile delinquency? Is it going to, will we help correct it? Is it going to sort of maintain status quo? Is it going to get dramatically worse? What's going to happen?
Actually, juvenile delinquency in California is down anyway quite a bit, but be that as it may, this concept actually comes out of what we call a restorative justice concept,
right,
which was started in New Zealand about 25 years ago. And it was just about the time I left, and New Zealand became very concerned about juvenile crime. Now, the great difference between New Zealand and America, other than one's the biggest country in the world and the other's the smallest, is the advantage of a small country is you can make social change real fast, and if it doesn't work, oh, no worries, just go back to the way it was before. Where here, it's like the difference between turning a powerboat and an aircraft carrier. So they started to think out. New Zealand's always been progressive in social issues. First country in the world to give women the right to vote. First country in the world to let women run for political office. And so they came up with some ideas. They had tried the boot camp things,
right,
putting the kids up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Found that all that did was make fit criminals. They could run faster from the police. And they came up with different kinds of programs. The net effect 25 years later, 25 years ago they had 9 correctional and juvenile institutions. They only have 2 now. They've closed 7 of them down because they don't need them. And they've just totally revolutionized the juvenile criminal system. And so, in answer to your question, what do you see the future? I say this with tongue in cheek, but there's a saying that says if you do the same thing and expect a different reaction, that's a sign of insanity. Well, I'll leave the punchline open. You know,
so are we just doing
the same thing
over and over?
Over and over again. And it's costing us a fortune. It costs about $75,000 a year to keep a kid locked up. It costs us $1,000 a year to keep them out in the mentoring program. And so we just keep doing the same thing. And California, if it was a country by itself, has more people incarcerated than any country in the entire planet. It's phenomenal. And so we've got to do something different.
Why is that? Why do we have so many people incarcerated? Is it back to the lack of the family structure? And
part of it, but it's also the system. That is part of it, definitely. But there's also the system. We've got to be way more creative in rehabilitation. Billions spent in locking people up, virtually nothing, very little spent in rehabilitation. You know, and it's political. It all becomes political. And that's the main issue. Sure, you're right, the family structure, and that's why working with youth is, in my mind, the way to start dealing with the problem, because nobody gets up in the morning at 35 years of age and says, I just think I'll become a criminal. Sure, people do commit crime older in life, I understand that, but most of the criminals in the adult population came in as young people, and they just graduated through the system. So if we can make a radical change at the bottom, this will start cutting off the adult criminals as well.
Did you have a good mentor as a boy, your father or grandfather? Or?
That's it's great you asked that, because my brother, we had the same upbringing. My brother has spent probably 40 years of his life in prison. Last 20 years in Thailand for trying to smuggle drugs into Thailand from Australia. He's now in New Zealand. He's in an old man's home. He's younger than me. He just can hardly, totally messed up his life. And I've tried to analyze what was the difference. We had identical upbringing, identical, same room. But there were two men in my church that we went to that kind of took me under their wing and just took an interest in me. And so I've seen mentorship modeled, and it's innate within me. You know, it just comes naturally how to relate to these kids. And the way they treated me and the way they related to me is the only difference that I can see between my brother and myself.
I had a couple of mentors growing up after my father died. One was a music teacher.
Right.
But he was very low-key.
Right.
It was sort of like, look, I can teach you a lot of stuff here if you want to learn. If you don't, I don't care.
Yes, yeah.
But that attitude was, I'll take you as you are, and if you want to try to progress and do better, I'd like to help you.
Right.
The other one was a dairy farmer. He got up every morning, every night, milked 60, 70 head of cow. He always had, you know, slop boots on and, you know, an old hat and all those things. But, you know, what he said is what he meant, and what he meant is what he said, and he was true and devout. And when I look back on both of those men, there was nothing you know, catastrophic that they brought into my life. They just brought order and some discipline along with love and, you know, all those other things. And then a lot of stuff was just, you know, don't take this too serious, just little tidbits, you know, don't do that. Don't I said to the one time, you know, what's a good tip in life? And he said, you ought to look both ways before you cross the road, you know, and we just had a good laugh over that. So, this mentoring's a wonderful thing.
You're right, and I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
And all those things that you said are absolutely correct. And then the one big one that I would add on, and I'm sure you'd agree, is just to have someone that's credible that believes in you. That is just, and actually trusts you, you know what I mean? When I'm doing something with these kids, I look for ways that I can give them something to do that shows that I trust them. Like if I'm putting up a fence, do you want to use the nail gun? Wow, do I ever want to use the nail gun? Dave's going to let me use the nail gun?
Didn't think I'd ever get that chance.
No, right. And so that's telling me that I trust them. And of course I'm standing by them watching them. And that type of thing. And I take kids out sailing, it's the same thing. And you know, get them to do different things. It shows that I'm trusting them and I believe in them that they're able to do it, you know.
A religious leader, when I was young, who's long dead and gone, had a favorite saying that said, it's greater to be trusted than it is to be loved.
That's very good.
And when I first heard it as a teenager, I thought, yeah, I got to think about that. I'm not sure that's right. But as I started, by the time I got in my 30s and 40s, that, you know, if you're trusted, you'll automatically be loved.
I'm just going to say that as the first thing that came.
But if you can't be trusted,
that's right.
People are always on edge, and you know, you wonder what's coming next. Now let's talk about sailing and diving and a couple of those things for a minute too. You still sail today on the bay in San Francisco?
Yes, and the other thing, John, I used to take church kids out on youth camps sailing on the bay in a 36-footer, and I'd rent it. And, you know, it was fairly expensive, but, you know, the kids would pay for it. And I've always in the back of my mind when I was running these camps, is as great as they were, and as, you know, the kids absolutely loved it, I was always thinking, these are the wrong kids. This is before I was involved in this. The kids that don't have this opportunity are the ones that I want to get out here. And of course, we don't have any money to rent one, and we can't charge the kids because they don't have any money.
Sure.
So I've been wanting to have get one donated for a long time, and finally in January we got one donated.
Wow,
Down
that's
in LA.
cool.
It's a 33-foot Yorktown, and brought it up the coast, and we got a marina donated to us down in Al Harbour Marina. They kindly donated us a berth to us. And so this summer we hopefully will be, I'm working on it now to bring it up. A donated boat has a lot of stuff that they're doing to it.
Yes.
Right. And
What's the attraction to sailing? I've actually been on a sailboat once, but you see it all the time, like all the cares have gone away, the world is at peace.
That's right. I am closer to God out on the ocean sailing than any place on the planet. I'm just like, I'm in heaven type of thing. This is fantastic.
Have you sailed outside the bay?
Oh yes, yeah. I sailed this one up from LA and brought it up, and it was quite a challenge because coming up in the summer you got the northwesterly winds head on, and we had several problems because the boat had not been maintained, but we made it.
How about diving? Where do you dive?
Unfortunately, being a diver in Northern California is a problem because you've got to spend money and got to go somewhere. So I haven't actually been for a while. I was down in Jamaica on a mission team about 2 years ago, and that was the last time. But down in Baja, California is good. Of course, Australia's Great Barrier Reef, Thailand, the Bahamas. And
have you dived that blue hole in Belize?
No, I haven't.
I've read about that,
Yes.
but I don't know anything about it. And is the Barrier Reef as good at diving as there is in the world, like they advertise?
It's excellent, but I think, it's excellent, but I think I dived in Phuket in Thailand, and boy, that's a close par to it, if not better.
And what's to see down there?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. You just would not believe it. It's the beauty. Now, you can go down there and see nothing but mud. I understand that. But I'm talking about diving on a reef. The beauty is indescribable. It's just like you can't take any photos that would describe it unless there was some professional panoramic camera. Even then, it's the beauty of the coral, the live coral, is beyond comprehension, and the fish and the diversity, and it just blows your mind. I don't even want to come back. I just want to lay at the bottom of the ocean and watch it. And unfortunately, the air runs out. You've got to come back up. But it's great. And I think diving with sharks in the Bahamas was one of my great experiences, and it was just awesome.
In a cage or free?
No, just free. Yeah, they're fine.
It's a beautiful world, isn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And what's under the world is under the sea rather, is just unbelievable. It's beyond description.
We keep hearing that, those of us who haven't seen it.
Yes. It's like, I think when, like trying to take a photo, I say to someone, it's like being out at night and looking at the great stars and the galaxies and everything, and then taking a photo and showing someone and saying, this is a photo of the universe. It's just impossible.
Are the kids who are incarcerated, do they see the beauties of the world, or are they overpowered and it's just sort of black and white and that's it?
No, it's black and white. No, it's not black and white. It's all black.
Oh.
A kid just a few months ago, I was round at his parents' place getting the parental release form signed, and I've got to stay away from the kids because I just can't help myself. If I don't have a mentor, I say, well, I'll mentor you, man, and I just take on too many kids. So we didn't have the boat at this stage, and it was I think it was last winter. And when these kids, when you first meet them, they're totally non-communicative. They don't know what a mentor is, you know what I mean? So I said, well, I'll be your mentor until I get someone. The kid says, and I said, what, you'd like to go out in a boat sometime? My neighbor had asked me to go down to the Delta. He had a Bayliner, old Bayliner, that the starter motor was jammed, and wondered if I could fix it for him. So I said, I've got to go down and check out a boat in the Delta tomorrow. You want to come? And, so I knew he was really excited. So I picked him up and took him down there. All the way down, it's nothing, no communication, hardly. But that doesn't bother me. I know that's what they're like. When we got there, now this is not a nice marina. This is a cruddy little marina in a slough, which is basically a muddy creek with a couple of boats tied to trees and a bit of a deck. His whole attitude changed when he got out, and he said, wow, this is beautiful. Is the rest of California like this? I says, no, this is the bottom of it. This is the delta. It goes up from here, and you ought to see the rest of America, blow your mind. He says, this is beautiful. We go over to the boat, and here's this thing been sitting there for 2 years with a cover on it, covered in dust and everything. And he said, can I get up on it? I said, of course, sure. I want you to take the cover off. We're going to look at it. He gets up on the front of it, and I go down the back to look at the engine, and he stops, and he says, Dave, you know what? I could do this the rest of my life. And I just laughed, you know. I said, well, you've connected with the right guy. On the way back, now, wouldn't stop talking. We didn't even go out in the boat. I couldn't get it started. That was a great experience. He stood on a boat. His friends called him on the cell phone. Man, I'm with my mentor. I'm on a boat down the Delta, man, you know, and it's all. On the way back, you know, ever do drugs, Dave? You know, why don't you do drugs? What laws is it okay to break? Wouldn't stop talking the whole time. You know, just totally changed attitude just because he stood on a dirty old boat in the dirty old river.
And that must be fulfilling and satisfying to you.
Oh, it is. It is. It really is. It's totally what motivates me. So I have never in my life, John, seen any program, and I've been involved with people in this kind of thing all my life, that's created so much results for so little effort.
Well, waving your magic wand to resolve one of the social issues of the day, what would that be?
Well, basically, I believe the answer to everybody's problem is a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. So, you know, that's the basis, obviously. But assuming, from a Christian perspective, that a person's a Christian and has a relationship with God, Christians ought to get involved in social issues in their communities. Christians typically do not get involved. They get very involved in their church, and that's it. And it's like the world can go to hell in a handbasket. And there is so much need crying out there for people that need totally different things maybe than what I'm talking about. And part of the Christian ethic and part of the Christian responsibility is to be involved in the social issues of the day. And that's...
We'll keep trying.
Yes, right.
Thank you for being here. It's a delight to visit with you and nice to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.